Welcome to the Florida Project, a look at Walt Disney's 1960s vision for the future at what became Walt Disney World in Central Florida. In the 1960s, Walt Disney decided that he wanted to construct Disney World, what became Disney World, in Central Florida near where Interstate 4 and the Florida Turnpike intersected. So here he is in front of a map of Florida. He had already constructed a theme park in California in 1955. Now, we all know that Walt Disney was a legend, an animator, a film producer, a TV show producer, a theme park designer, an entrepreneur, in many ways a visionary who would have a lot of impact on the baby boomer generation, which in turn would have an impact on me. And I have a lot of great memories visiting Disney World, the Magic Kingdom, EPCOT, and MGM Studios in Florida. Never visited yet Disneyland. Now, Disneyland was the original theme park. Here he is at the dedication of Disneyland in Anaheim, California in 1955. And here we see Ronald Reagan. In the 1950s, he was an actor, and he was at he emceed on television the dedication ceremony and the opening day of Disneyland. He would later become our president from 1981 to 1989. Now here we have a modern picture of the Sleeping Beauty Castle in Disneyland. So Disney had constructed Disneyland, the Disneyland theme park, but it was one thing he had found was that he had not gotten enough property around the park to have a control over what he wanted his vision to be. So there would be these hotels and motels and gift shops and things like that. So his actual theme park was hemmed in. So in the 1960s, in 1965, he came to Florida. Now, he managed to purchase land. He managed to purchase land under different business names. And so before people knew it, he had a lot of land, a lot of swampland in Central Florida. Here he is with the governor at the time, Hayden Burns, and his brother, Roy Disney. And they announce his arrival in Florida. And he'll begin communicating with the people of the United States and around the world his vision for the Florida Project. With the Florida Project, he had the luxury of land and, of course, by this point, even more money with which to implement his vision. Now here we see the Magic Kingdom, a modern picture of Cinderella's castle, and this is ultimately the castle that was constructed by 1971. Now, one thing that's important for you to keep in mind is that when he announced the Florida Project in 1965 and 1966, he was not very long for this world. He actually passed away in December 1966. Now, he talked in his film that he made about the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, EPCOT. And I visited EPCOT a lot in the 1980s and the 1990s, and it was quite, my visits with my family, particularly with my father, were quite amazing and exhilarating. And there's a magic to Disney that when you go inside a Disney theme park, you feel to this day. I at one point even considered back in college trying to get into the Disney summer program, but I felt when I went to the meetings, I went, wow, they have such high standards. I don't know. And so I didn't join up or apply to join up. But when you look at Disney and what he wanted to accomplish. It was something that was grander and bigger than what was ultimately realized in Central Florida. EPCOT was something that was going to be more than a theme park. It was going to be a place where people could live, work, and play. And then the theme park would be a part of the Florida project. So here we see where he is talking about it. And here we see a little bit more, and you see a little bit more of the transportation components. You see the monorail, which we would think of today, but he envisioned a monorail connecting up, and I'll tell you more about that later with things. But also, you see where it says Wedway, the Wedway People Movers? Now, to this day, you can go to Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom, and you can ride the Wedway People Mover. And it'll take you around a little bit, and that was what that would have been. So he had really looked at transportation. In fact, he envisioned there being an airport in Osceola County, and that you would, when you arrived at this special Disney airport, you would actually go from the airport by monorail. You would park, go by monorail to the Welcome Center. Then you could go up through the industrial park, as you can see, going further to the north, and then further into what we would know as Disney World, into that area. And he envisioned an actual community with high-rises and also with single-family homes, and then ultimately the theme park, what we would know, I guess, as the Magic Kingdom, and other parks would be further to the north, okay, of I-4. Now here we see the vision where there would be essentially a central downtown, and all this would be connected by monorails, and then to go out into the outlying areas of EPCOT would be the Wedway People Movers. And so in the center you would have the business district, you would have the hotels, you would have high-rise apartments, and here you get an even more grander vision. I mean, amazing stuff. And then further out you have the schools, the homes, the gardens, the parks. It was now later on, long after he had died, they built Celebration Florida, which this show will not be discussing at all. Okay? Here is the vision that he had, and even to this day, you can take the Wedway People Mover in Tomorrowland, in the Magic Kingdom, and you'll go in, and if you look off, I believe it's to the left, going in as you immediately go inside the area inside the Space Mountain building, through the People Mover, you can see what he envisioned, which is essentially a radial city. Now, I just gave you just a taste of what his vision was. Here we see EPCOT, and we see what ultimately was envisioned to be EPCOT later on. Okay, as we know, Walt Disney died in 1966. His brother Roy Disney carried forward as best as he could with getting the Magic Kingdom constructed, and later on, EPCOT opened in 1982. The Disney MGM Studios opened in 1989, and then other parks developed around as well. But the big concept, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, was not to come into fruition. All we would get in what would be termed as EPCOT going forward and later was essentially the future world, Communicore area, the pavilions, essentially like a World's Fair, with the Journey into Imagination, the land, later on the Living Seas, the World of Motion, Body Wars, Horizons. That was my favorite. I've really enjoyed that part of EPCOT, and later on, of course, and then if you got further into the park, I later on got more enjoyment, especially at the different festivals they would have, that they had and still have, that you could really enjoy the World Showcase with all the different countries: United States, Canada, Japan, China, Norway, Mexico. I know I'm leaving some things out, but great times with my family. And so ultimately, though we didn't get the community of tomorrow, we got something really special and something really neat. And so I wanted to just share this with you today. And I hope that this jogs some good memories with you. And I'll have more down the road. Later on with the channel, I'd like to take more looks at Walt Disney and the Disney parks. And I'll be talking more about various TV shows and movies in our culture. There's just so much for me to tell you, so much to bring you. I'm excited with this channel. I encourage you to please subscribe and then also click the bell to get notifications when new shows come up on this channel. And please let me know what you think. Take it easy. See you later.